Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with the CEO of Othaz Records and veteran DJ Waleed Coyote, discussing how he's Middle Eastern and influenced directly by hip-hop and music, building in the radio industry, and how he's focused on being an executive and a label owner. Hey, it's Sammy approved for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and I'm sitting down with CEO of Othaz. Am I saying? Othaz.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Othaz. I'm weak. Othaz is spelled O-T-H-A-Z Records. He's manager for DJ Luke Nasty and just overall amazing person in this radio business, Waleed Coyote.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
And you're also amazing as well. So
thank you.
Congratulations on everything you got going on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So we got to get into the story. We got to figure out how this man from where you originally, first off, we have to figure out where this name came from, because I know that's not Coyote
well,
is not
Waleed
your...
is my real name.
But Coyote is not.
Nah, R.I.P., rest in peace to my man Dana Lucci, Mixmaster D. When we first moved to this country, originally from Beirut, Lebanon, and when we came here in the dark ages of the 80s, you know, a long time ago.
How old were you when you moved here?
I was like 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
So basically learned how to speak English by watching all the rap videos and music videos as a kid, because I really didn't know how to speak English. And that's why I don't speak with an accent now, because I picked up the language early on.
So you learned from rap music videos?
Yeah, not just rap music videos, also heavy metal, everything. Everything, like MTV, Generation, BET early on.
Gotcha.
And down the street from where we moved to, there was a DJ, R.I.P., just passed away this past July.
I'm sorry.
Dana Lucci, who was a phenomenal DJ, and I used to help him, you know, sort his records out, and used to hang out at his house all day long. So part of that crew was the Busy Boys, is what they called themselves, and the main rapper on the Busy Boys was Will Ski, who did Jay-Z's first album. And so in the Carolinas, we have a huge, rich history of hip-hop music.
Right.
And so Dana would always tell me, yo, you should call yourself Waleed Coyote. And I was like, nah, I hate that name. Like, I don't want to be no cartoon character, bro. Like, I'm real. I'm not, bro. I don't want to be that. But then it just stuck.
Yeah.
You know, nicknames always stick when you hate them.
Right.
So you got a nickname, right?
I mean, Sammy, but I don't really hate it. It comes from my last name, so.
But did you ever get a nickname that you
Yeah.
didn't like?
No.
No?
Like, I mean, when I was young, they called me, like, Muffin or, like, Butterball. Like, I would hope they not call me that today, but, you know, it never stuck, so thank God for that.
But you always have Butterball Productions, you know? Muffin Entertainment.
Muffin Entertainment.
You do all that.
Yeah, so I think that's dope. I'm always curious as to how people get their names. But Waleed is your actual name.
Actual real name.
Your real name.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm curious as to how how hip-hop in general, because you've worked from radio to being on the executive side of a label, to owning your own, obviously, with Othaz Records, being a CEO of that. But obviously hip-hop has influenced a lot of what you've done and what you do as a DJ to personality. Right. So I'm wondering, like, how that really influenced your career and just your life overall, being that you learned this language from music in general.
Exactly. I mean, hip-hop is everything for me. You know, growing up, once I heard the sound, I smoked my first joint and heard my first NWA record at the same time.
Really?
You know, and that was an ironic,
what record
story.
was it?
Straight Outta Compton.
Let's hear the story.
You know, so we was hanging out with the bad kids always in life. I always found myself with the thugged out people. But a friend of mine who was skipping school at the time, which, you know, hope nobody's watching this, because stay in school. You know, I got a college degree. It's very important.
Absolutely.
But at the time, we weren't going to school for this particular day. And my boy had rolled up a little bit of weed. You know, I was like hella young and smoked a joint. And you're now witnessing the strength of street knowledge. Boom, popped the tape in. And it was just like, at that moment, my life changed. Like I said, I don't want to do anything else with my life but this music. And so from then on, it was just like, okay, how can I put my area on?
Right.
You know, I grew up with some of the best producers, best rappers, best ball players. And I felt like at the time, Carolina didn't have a shot because even when you turn on the radio at the time, the station that I worked at, 102 Jams, before I even got there, most of the DJs, the OGs were somewhere else. So they were always like, yo, I'm from Cali, yo, I'm from New York.
Nobody's really from there.
Yeah, and everybody that was in my area at the time was repping New York because it's before the Dirty South Atlanta movement really took off. So everybody was New York, New York, New York.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, you know what? I'm surrounded by some of the best talent, but for whatever reason, can't get out. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to dedicate my life to going and pursuing radio, getting on radio. I just really had no plan B. I'm going to get on radio. I'm going to start a label. And I'm just going to figure it out.
But it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked. You were obviously hella focused.
There was nothing else more important, really, except for family.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of times people do music as a hobby or as a time, but this thing got to be a life.
Right.
So you got to, you know, and I study the market. I keep trends. I always want to see what the next thing is because that's big. And right now, the state is on the map. Everybody's talking about the Carolinas now.
Right.
But it took 20 years.
I was going to ask you, like, I mean, what they used to say, whip it around your head just like a helicopter. Who was that, P.D. Pablo?
P.D. Pablo,
yeah.
yep.
That was the only thing I knew about.
And it was crazy because when we went on the road, that's all you hear for a long time. Oh, you from North Carolina? That's where P.D. Pablo's from.
Yeah, that's all I knew at one point.
That's my man. Shout out to P.D.
Yeah, so, but now, how do you feel about, like, where North Carolina is? You got so many people coming out of Carolina. Like, that's insane to me. Like, I mean, is there a sound, do you feel like, because I have a friend who's from North Carolina. We actually had this discussion recently about, like, him growing up there and them being influenced by Atlanta and, like, our sound. Do you think now at this point with, like, the Baby and trying to think of who else is out of North Carolina right now, but neither here nor there, do you think that there's
35 artists?
I'm sure there's so many, but I'm thinking about the Baby most recently because I talked to him.
No, he did.
And he's there.
He's number one in the country right now, you know, going worldwide. So
that's amazing.
That was amazing.
But do you think that North Carolina has their own sound? How you guys have your own sound when it comes to, like, stamping yourself or inserting yourself in the hip hop space?
Absolutely. See, North Carolina, I always dubbed it as the Middle East, right? So I'm originally from the Middle East, but then when you look at the geography, that's a new term. Geography.
I mean, I said Othaz. So
right, so it's all good. One for one. Best thing about it is we're in the middle of the East Coast, right? So we always had the advantage. We got all the historically black colleges. We got 100,000 colleges. We got all kind of students there that are like from 18 to 24.
Right.
So all the records really will break there. So being as that we're in the middle of the whole East Coast, the Middle East, it would be a sound where you have a Little Brother, Ninth Wonder. You have lyrical guys like G. Yamazawa. You have guys that really could spit. Like, I mean, Baby is an actual phenomenal rapper and a great songwriter. But he also knows how to make hit records. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you understand that we have a place that is really like the melting pot, it's the middle of everything.
Right.
So Atlanta artists always blew up North Carolina, got all their show money in North Carolina first. You know, Jeezy will always be able to come there. Gucci will always be able to come there. Outkast, whoever it is from even the beginning, Killer Mike. I mean, whoever it is early on, Atlanta will always be able to come to North Carolina and pick up those bags because we gravitate and break the records early.
Right.
So, but for the longest time, we were consumer markets, not producing. So a lot of times, you know, when I was coming up, it was like we would pay artists from outside hella bags to come and take all the resources. Everybody goes to the club, see them, and then that's it. And then when it came to our own, people would scatter the dance floor when our own would perform. But then we changed all of that. You know, Luke Nasty was probably the first independent. Shouts out to Empire also, who, you know, we teamed up with Ghazi. It was just a magical moment at the time because we were out on our own going city to city, and the city loved us back home. So it was like we really broke in Carolina, then Atlanta, then Miami. Yeah. And then after that, it was like, okay, the floodgates.
How important is that, you know, to break out in your hometown first, though, to get that hometown love before you go? And because, I mean, you see, obviously, in the age of the internet where you don't necessarily, you have like a father who's from Atlanta and he blew up on the internet first. Like, people in Atlanta don't really necessarily rock with father like that until after he blew up.
Right.
Whereas, to, you know, you're talking about Luke Nasty and he had the hometown love first, then was able to kind of expand his reach and be who he is today with like 1 million hit records.
I mean, the number one thing is home. Because people are always going to call and check up on you.
Right.
Right. So you have the internet, right? But the internet is but lasts so long.
Exactly.
If there's no substance to it. 1,000 people go viral every day. 100 people, might capitalize off of that, and only 10 might really make something out of it.
Right.
Because as quickly as you come, you go. But if I'm listening to a record from somebody from Wisconsin, I'm going to call my DJs there. First thing I'm going to do is check up on them. Memphis has a rich sound. Memphis is really big. Out of Atlanta, you think of Memphis or Miami as far as having, real artists that are coming out, paying for their own way, independent. And you always call back home and say, hey,
what you think about this guy?
Exactly. Right. And then the minute that the report card doesn't check out, it's harder for those artists.
Right.
Because now it's like, damn, bro, they don't even rock with you at home like that.
Right. Facts. That's true.
It's very, very important.
Speaking of home, I am curious as to you having Middle Eastern parents, what that means for you growing up in America and, like, you deciding to, were they supportive of your goals to do radio music? I guess it really didn't matter because you were very headstrong about doing it. But I'm just curious, like, was that a challenge for them to accept, or were they just like, whatever, do it?
No, I was blessed with revolutionary parents. Like, my mom has a master's degree, coming from Beirut, Lebanon. She was very progressive, very independent, and a very strong lady, but still a good mom, great mom, best mom. But she raised us to always be strong. My pops was the same way, and truthfully, they were happy that I didn't end up in jail, or it was like very foreign to them. Yeah. Because in our culture, you don't see but maybe 1 or 2, 3, 4 singers at the time make it, and at the time wasn't nobody doing hip hop. Right. So then I'm coming with this culture of music and telling them, look, I want to DJ, I want to do this. Okay, and they'll be like, oh, that's nice. Just don't get in any trouble. That was the whole thing. Like, just as long as you're happy and you can make a living. They didn't really understand the financial gains, the financial losses, the millions of dollars that could be made and lost at the same time in this music business. The music business is very, up and down. It's a roller coaster. Nobody stays on top forever. So, but they always, encouraged me to do what I love. That was the main thing. Yeah. You don't ever want to go to work and be upset at your job. Absolutely. No matter what job it is. You don't want to sit there and come in and be like, man, I got to go to work. I can't wait to get off. See, sometimes I have a problem when I go to fast food restaurants, which I try not to go to too much, but just to hear people say, man, I'm tired. I'm ready to get off work. Just the other day I was leaving the club back home, and I go to this little sub spot, and the lady, she like, man, I've been here since 4 o'clock. And I'm like, yo, you blessed to have a job. Right. Like, me as a customer, what do I care about how long you've been working here? Right. There's homeless people standing outside. With nothing. Yeah, you should be, if you're going to be at a job, be the best of your job and then go build your own sub place or don't work there. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's very difficult because this country, I love it. So don't get me wrong. America is hands down the best country to live in. I've been a lot of places around the world, and I come from a country that was war and torn, that was amazing, but fell into the third world category. So you're blessed to be here, but very spoiled people, a lot of times, because they're like, man, I'm tired. How many times you hear that when you go somewhere? So many times. And then they look at their watch like, man, I'm ready to get off. See, for me, I get up 6 a.m. I go travel. Like tomorrow, they say, yo, got a meeting on Mars. Let's go to Mars. If it's Pluto the next day, like if it's going to be beneficial to what we got going on, let's go. Yeah. And because this business is hard. For sure. And there's 1,000 people trying to replace you in whatever you do. For sure. There's 1 million people trying to get on the charts. So why I love music so much too is because it's the heart, the passion. You find people that'll do stuff for free. They'll intern or show up, work at studios. You have to be. Without that passion, you really will lose sight of what it is that, because it's difficult. It's challenging. It's probably one of the most challenging industries to be a part of. Absolutely. Especially to like insert yourself when we do things like radio, being a personality, being an artist, it's extremely difficult. And then just speaking to seeing other things and like how we're spoiled as Americans, I think that's a good point because, after traveling, I traveled for 2 weeks to India myself, like where my dad is from. And like even to know, like, just, I asked you that question in particular about your parents because the way that my dad or like his parents probably like view work and like our work ethic in general is very different than an American parent or a parent, So even you just saying like how hard you or how passionate you were about this hip hop or like music, it shows in what you probably just said. It's ingrained in your blood to be a hard worker, to not view things as like this is just work, but because like I want to genuinely do this. And I know that in order to succeed or excel, I can't complain about something that I want to do, right? Because at the end of the day, right, when we go to the afterlife and pass away, I mean, one thing's for sure, everybody got to die at some point, right? So there's always an end. You're only left with your work.
Facts.
And what people are going to say about you.
Facts.
So you have to go, music, you got to go 4 or 5 times as hard, because not only is it competition with the other artists or other labels or whoever's trying to compete for that slot, but it's also competition with time, because music, the algorithm, the timing, everything is going to change. So your sound might be amazing right now, but then tomorrow nobody likes it.
Facts.
So if you're not on what's going on tomorrow, plus just to break down others for you real quick, you got black, white, Hispanic, and you got an other. My whole life I used to check the others category because I didn't feel like I fit in any of that. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't want my music that I put out to have a limitation.
Same.
So if I want to do a country album with a genuine, even before Lil Nas X, if we really wanted to put out something, a Garth Brooks sounding record, I didn't want to have somebody say, no, you only do this form of music and that's it.
Right, limit you and set those boundaries on you.
Correct.
Yeah, facts.
The others, yeah.
I like that. That's dope. So also, speaking of not limiting yourself, you started working in radio, DJing with 102 Jams,
Right.
and then from there, you were able to get into like the executive side. I'm curious, and I want to know why you did not limit yourself, obviously, but then 2, how you were able to do multiple things. Because a lot of people, especially today, do multiple things, and it's not like a outlandish thing, but I think during the time of you coming in radio, it was like people were really focused on like maybe this one thing and then not doing multiple jobs or whatever. But you, on the other hand, have a different story where it's like you knew that you wanted to start this label. You knew that you wanted to do things outside of just radio and not limit yourself. How were you able to kind of forge your path versus, other people who probably that you came up with still doing radio? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'm just wondering how you were able to do it.
I love radio. Radio is something that I did for free in college, and the response was always great because I always had these ideas like, man, if I was on the radio, I would do this.
So you started in college?
Yeah, I started in college. Actually, I started a record label in college.
Oh, wow.
So, and then...
Where'd you go to school?
Western Carolina University. You probably never heard of it, but it's okay.
No, I mean, I heard of it when I researched you, but...
I appreciate that. Yeah,
Just
shouts
wanted you
out
to
to
tell me.
Cullowhee, North Carolina, yeah.
You went
yeah,
too?
Tubbs went over there. So we was... But he went years later. But, for me, it was like a goal, and it was driving force of saying, okay, I'm going to do this radio thing, and I'm going to blow this radio up. No pun intended. But I'm going to go crazy.
Like...
And shouts out to Brian Douglas, 102 Jams, Tap Money, all the folks that I had a chance to work with, amazing people. Brian was the program director, and he challenged me probably more than anybody else has ever challenged me in my life.
How so?
Because I had a lot of disadvantages in his eyes and a lot of people's eyes, because in my area was very segregated, right? So if you're not African American fully and you kind of look like me, but then you coming on some street, and I was pretty heavily involved in the street on every aspect legally, that I would like to say.
Yeah.
So when I came into 102 Jams, I was kind of a little wild, my sound wasn't, my enunciation, like I had to really work on speech. Like when I was at Western Carolina, they would tell me that I sounded too hood, you know what I'm saying? But then I get to 102 Jams, like, yo, you got to enunciate your words. You got to do these air checks. And we go into air checks for, like hours on just one break.
Right.
And it was either going to make you or break you. And he challenged me to the point, and then when he gave me the platform of having nights, he just let me go. It wasn't a lot of limitations. So I would have Exotic Wednesday where strippers would come in, battle rappers. I would have the city tuned in. Like it would literally be one person versus another person battling live on radio, but things would escalate, disc records would get made, and then I had an opportunity to do a car show every Friday night, which turned into thousands of people coming to the car show every Friday for free.
Dope.
So it was things that I had ideas for that I was able to do it without people telling me, no, you can't stop. I mean, and the numbers reflected it, but he took a chance on me, and at the end of the day, the numbers came back.
Yeah.
While I was doing this, I had a label still, and I was able to get my records on radio without having to go and bombard everybody.
Right, because you were there.
Not only was I there, no, the records were actually hot.
Right, true.
So a lot of times, like even when I heard Might Be, I was on the radio and I didn't even know Luke dropped it and changed all our life. Like like he gave it to the DJ. For example, DJ Earn plays the record before I even heard the record.
Right.
So a lot of times, my artists were so hungry they would go and work their own
record, yeah.
And then I would hear it on the radio like, wow, what's this? Hold on, I'm calling them like, bro, what do you got going on? So, we built it through the parties. I bought a club while I was there. My thing was, employing people to teach people how to do a task to where they could fend for themselves.
Right.
And then it helps the whole system.
Right. Facts.
So if you got this person's working at the club, then you're employing the DJ, then you're helping this person, you're promoting this party, and everybody's coming together, right?
To eat, yeah.
To eat, and then you're showcasing your talent at the club, and then you're talking about them on the radio. So it was like the radio was just life. So I dedicated about 17 years on radio.
Yeah.
Then one day I got a phone call from what I would say is like a brother to me, Ghazi, who owns Empire. But when I met Ghazi, it was in 2009, and we were at the Core DJ retreat, and we were in Vegas, and he had maybe one assistant. He just started this Empire label, and he was like family. Like we found out we were born a day apart.
Oh, wow.
Our mothers got the same names. We're from the same area in the world.
That's crazy.
So we became best of friends.
Yeah.
And then so, I had this so much on the radio that sometimes you feel like, what else is there left for me to do? Okay, I did everything. I brought the audience. I brought the numbers. Only thing left at the time was syndication. And that's still a goal. Like people ask me all the time, when you going to get back on the radio? I say soon, because I want to go syndicated. Like if I was to come back, I want to be always bigger. I live by the motto, ever forward, never backwards. So you got to look at the future. You got to learn from your past mistakes, but you can't dwell on it.
Right.
So you got to keep moving forward.
And I'm wondering too, how you feel about you being able to be in different spaces is important. I asked that originally because as things progress, as you look at social media, as you look at digital content and like where certain radio platforms are going, is that what you were looking at when you were in radio for 17 years? Like in terms of now having a goal of like being syndicated, like the radio's changed, it's changing, it's evolving. How are you looking at radio today versus like when you first started?
I still love radio, right? First and foremost, I'm a radio dude. So you might find me in the car listening to commercials, imaging, how the jock did the last break. I just feel like automation kind of like for what we do. And when you put on somebody from 7 to midnight, that's very important. It's not that the kids don't listen to radio no more. It's that you have to have talent that's going to get them engaging. You have to talk about what they like.
Right.
What they, the one thing for radio for me was always the 7 to 9 slot was dedicated to the high schools. Now, I'm not a weirdo that goes and hangs out at high schools, but I'm going to go find people that are in that culture, the people that are that old, the high school football coaches, people that could educate me about what's going on, whether this team is playing this team. So it's about engagement. I think that a lot of times the DJs, sometimes the jocks, I would say, could just do a little bit better job. Atlanta's great. Carolina's amazing. Like everywhere is dope. But companies, when they take you off from 7 to midnight and then just put a machine there, and then somebody gets shot or there's a hurricane coming or
nobody's talking about it.
Nobody's talking, and then you punch in and they're like, hey, another great song from such and such, and all of a sudden the whole world's on Instagram looking at something that's going viral, and you're not there on the pulse of it saying, yo, this is what it is. Like
you need that, yeah.
Before I left radio, I did a thing where I'll do it for the Vine at 9, and I brought this kid in, 2 people, Jake Fushi and this other kid that calls himself Swag Money, right? And the dude Swag Money comes in, and I never forget it. He comes right in there. He's got a box of Bojangles chicken, and he gets on the radio. And he's like, I'm eating chicken, y'all, and he puts it on his Vine, right?
Yeah.
For 3 hours, his phone lines are going crazy. Girls are crying from Las Vegas. I mean Miami. I'm calling my program director, and I'm like, look, listen, 102. Hey, what's up? Swag Money up there? Oh, my God, I'm from such and such. And it was like a radio revolution. Like, I'm like, wow, this kid just really got online, ate a piece of chicken before the Popeyes Chick-fil-A beef took off.
Right,
and this dude got this whole place going crazy. And I'm like,
Bojangles.
Man, I could have had Lil Wayne smacking Birdman on the radio, Nicki Minaj and Cardi B fighting, and I promise you wouldn't have got this reaction.
Right.
And I was like, wow. So I think radio should just go out and get the viral kids. You should just go out and research who's popping online on IG or Twitter or whatever, and bring them in and teach them how to be jocks, and that solves a lot of ratings problems, I think,
That could work.
Stuff like that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, somebody's going to do it right now.
Right, look, somebody's like...
Yeah, somebody's like, oh, man,
great
let
idea.
me see what's going on.
No, I do think you need to be tuned in and like locked in on what's going on in the culture, period.
You have to. You don't want to age out. You don't ever want to say to yourself, oh, man, these kids, what are they doing now? Because the minute that you say that, A, you're old, B, whatever that they're doing is winning. You know,
Yeah.
hip hop, we go skinny jeans, bell bottoms, baggy jeans 1 year, long hair, short hair, green hair, blue hair. Like everything changes
Yeah.
in our culture, and that's what keeps the culture going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if the culture doesn't change, it's over.
Right.
We're finished.
I want to get back to you starting Othaz Records because that happened in 99?
99.
99. So
Jeez.
what challenges did you experience in the beginning? If you've experienced any
All
challenges.
challenges.
What
I
challenges?
failed probably 1,001 times before even one success. Everything. You know, when you're coming up again in North Carolina, you've never seen nobody but P.D. Pablo at the time.
Right.
And everything was about the record deal. So we had this fantasy of, oh man, we're going to hit one out the park and we're going to go get a record deal. So boom. Okay, here's 1,000 T-shirts we spent our money on. Here's the, vinyl at the time we printed up. Man, I mean, I heard my record on the radio one time. Jay Flex played the record, and it was like 2 a.m, right? And I was like, yo, this time next year we're going to be in Bentleys. We probably wasn't a Bentley this time next year, but it was just rented for an hour, but I had to give it back. But it was like the dream, it sometimes overwhelms you. And to find people around you that have the same dream and are accepting of maybe not getting paid and just following the dream and staying passionate. So we ran into a lot of problems. Basically, the record deal was the huge goal.
Yeah.
Before understanding what the record deal was.
Yeah.
Before understanding how to get a record deal or what causes a record deal. The big challenge was, okay, we got North Carolina popping. Let's go to New York. Boom, we get to New York. Man, we're about to walk in the Def Jam. Oh, this is crazy. This before taking pictures. We made it.
Yeah.
Post it on your socials or whatever, and they walk into the meeting, and then the guys are like, all right, let's look at your analytics. All right, here we go.
Facts.
100,000 views, huh? And I'm like, bro, we got the club crazy, because in my area, see, Atlanta's beautiful because you're filled with celebrities and superstars. We're in a room right now, Patchwerk, where probably some of the biggest records in the world have been. You guys got a gazillion plaques on the wall, right? So This is different. Atlanta, you make it in Atlanta, you pop. It's over.
Right.
You're getting a check, you're getting shows, everything is beautiful. North Carolina, you pop. At the time, you're going to get hate. Cats are going to come egg your car, try to shoot you. It just gets crazy. Then the love comes, but along with that comes the hate, but then there's nobody in there that says, all right, here's the next level. So when you go to New York to show them your analytics, 100,000 views at the time in North Carolina is worth 10 million in real life.
Right.
But then the record dude is looking at you like, okay, so you got 80 spins a week, and I see that they're backing off the record. Why should I give you this deal? Right? And so then you're like, damn. Why should you give me the deal?
Right.
Like,
Now you're questioning yourself.
I got this kid in Iowa who's doing 50,000 plays on his SoundCloud, and he's, wow, we got 10,000 people at his show yesterday, and you're like, damn. Okay. So then I had to figure it out. Okay, analytics. Analytics with radio and then reaction. Mm-hmm. So then figuring that out and then figuring out, okay, what markets do I need to hit? And then I got investors. We spent money. Money went nowhere. That was hard. Mm-hmm. That was a hard feeling, a hard pill to swallow. God, I spent $30,000 on a video, and you come back and the song's no longer active.
Right.
And you're like, damn, I just blew the budget. And then you're like, Jesus, what did I just do?
Right.
But, for me, it was just keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
Because can't nobody stop God's plan, as they say. Can't nobody stop. No company out there, no person out there, no matter how much they, and there's something that I want to do later on is probably put out a book to just show people what to do, what not to do, who not to deal with, what traps don't fall into, because there's a lot of traps. Mm-hmm. This business is, you hear about it being shady, but it's not just shady. It's hard because you never know. It's a prediction. You got a hurricane coming, a tornado coming, an earthquake coming. You never know when it's going to hit.
Right.
It's like a hit artist. This time next year, who's it going to be?
Right.
We could be sitting here talking about, XYZ, the new hottest artist, or the didn't go down. So that was a hard pill to swallow for the Carolinas at the time. And then also being on radio at the very beginning, it was hard because I would send my guys out to other radio stations, take them out to eat, do the protocol stuff, get your records out and all that. And then guess what happens? Nothing. Oh, that guy's trying to take over. But then all of a sudden, all my guys that I was coming up with that were working part-time, mixed shows, doing local artist spotlights, all those started becoming in power. And that's when everything started changing. It was like the whole climate changed. And, like I always heard, when it's the right time, it's the right time.
Right, right.
And so I couldn't be any happier with what's going on there now. And it's the analytic parts, like nobody's going to invest in you unless they see the money there.
It's so interesting, too, that you say that because even when it comes to social proof, we hear a lot about social proof now where people repost, other people posting their stuff or sharing. You see artists are always sharing their fans or whatever because in order for other people to believe in you, they want to see that people believe in you, essentially.
Of course.
Which is interesting to me because, I mean, it didn't have to, we don't develop artists and do, or not everybody develops their artists and do the things, especially not the labels that they used to. So like those things like social proof or your impressions, your analytics actually matter a lot more now.
Of course they matter. And then also the development. And I don't want to be like the labels are shady and everything, because at the end of the day, everything's a business, right? So
Right, for sure.
the bills got to be paid, the lights got to be on. And so you don't want to invest in somebody that, A, the money's not going to come back, number one. Number two, you also got to look at something that, is this person going to be an artist that's a one-hit wonder, or are they going to go for the next 5 years?
Right.
You know, it's very important. And then the record has to react. You know, when you're in certain audiences and you see a record reacting. So for the label, it's like, do I go out here and I spend money on coaching the kid and go out here and like every artist I deal with, we do fake interviews before you go into the radio station, because I have to put my word on the line. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to sit there and send you an interview and you don't know, you know, you come in there smelling crazy, you're talking crazy, you're slurring your words, you're not clear, you're not looking at the DJ in the eyes, certain things that you have to do. So, but for labels, it's like, damn, you just made 10 million on Spotify, 20 million on Apple Music. I'm talking about streams. You know, it's coming up. And you don't know how hot you are. Let's just throw you out there and let's see if you stick. Mm-hmm. Because if I sit there and I spend all this extra money developing you, you might not stick. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times, you know, they don't care. They, you know, just not saying they don't care. It's just more like it's a business.
It's a business. It's another gamble.
Yeah, so it's called, you know, exactly. So you're going to vet the guy. You're going to get him ready. And a lot of times the managers, I think it's the protocol of the manager, too. Like the manager is probably one of the best and worst positions in the music business, because you get a lot of blame and a lot of love at the same time. But I think the managers should take it upon themselves to coach, you know, the guy before he goes and does interviews.
Right, absolutely.
Explains to him, listen, you only got 6 weeks, bro. If you're not on time, they're going to pull the budget. And then once they pull the budget, it's like they don't owe you an explanation.
Right.
That's the hardest pill to swallow in this business.
Yeah.
It's not going to just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
That guy used to pick up the phone on the second ring. Now went to the fourth ring. Now it's the 8th ring. Now he just...
Not picking up.
Now you look on Instagram and like he just posted a minute after you called him. Mm. And he's living his best life. Mm-hmm. And you over here going crazy. Well, bro, why my thing ain't popping? Why is this going? And guess what? You should have thought about that when you missed this interview. You should have thought about that when you didn't call these people back. You should have thought about that when you made a decision to do certain things about your music. Because at the end of the day, the number one thing I learned about radio and music and everything in general, it's not up to you. It's up to the fans. See, I can tell you I got the best record in the world, which I'm sure you guys hear, everybody in this room, man, I'm hot, I'm the best, I got, bro, I'm telling you,
alive,
F with me, bro. I got you, bro. I got the best, but bro, let them say that. You know, let him say, yo, have you heard of such and such?
Right.
You just told me about Father, right? So instantly in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going to Google this dude as soon as I get out of here.
Yeah.
You know,
he's
like,
an interesting guy.
You know, boom, that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to Google him. I'm going to go get on him, and then the next time somebody says something about Father, I'm going to be like, bruh, you late. Bro, you should check out Son, bruh. That's the remix. Like, bruh, it's crazy. Like, bruh, like this is how we do, because we don't want to be left out.
Right.
So if I tell you about an artist, you know, I could almost make up an artist and just hype him up.
Yeah, just put him on.
Just hype him up. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you know, that's also the big thing is the hype.
Yeah.
Because lyrics, let's just keep it 1,000. Lyrics are lyrics. But a hit record, and I always, when I preach this to people, they look at me like I'm crazy. A hit record is not only going to change your life, but it's everything. Because in 10, 15, 20 years, they're going to be singing the same songs. There's only like few hit records if you really think about how much music is made, how much music is produced, but yet we go to the party and we hear an old school set, and it's the same 7, 8 records. And it's a new generation singing Before I Let Go like they heard it for the first time, or Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison, or Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It.
Right.
You know, there's certain records
that always go. And
the new kids are going to go crazy. And all of a sudden, then you see something pop up like a Missy Elliott challenge or something that brings a record back. And now they're discovering it for the first time. The Beatles get new fans every day. Bob Marley gets new fans every day.
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye, new fans. You know, Rolling Stones, and the list goes on and on. So, you know, that's something else, too. So a hit record is way different. That's the business that everybody wants to be in. They want to be in the hit record business.
And you're in the hit record business, obviously.
100%. That's all. That's it. Can we get him, please? ASAP.
Luke Nasty, though, that like he legit, like, I mean, we've talked to his producer, Mr. Hankey.
That's right.
I've known him since I was in high school, so it's interesting to see like these records that were you using certain samples even to kind of get those feels. But he's someone for sure that doesn't seem like he's missed. You manage him.
Mm-hmm.
Have you managed him from the beginning, like, of his career, or
Yeah,
when
since
did you come in?
basically at 15 years old, he was part of a group called the 336 Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine, Rob Thorne, kept telling me, listen, I know you're dealing with what you're dealing with, but I got this group. You really need to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually hired me to host their first mixtape, one of their first mixtapes. And when I met him and Bryson, Be Serious, I saw these two out of the four. I was like, bro, I was so blown away. At 15 years old, these dudes was doing beats and hooks and rapping. Like, to this day, they play Shake for the Money and Twerk Time in the clubs in North Carolina.
And go off.
Twerk anthems, right? These dudes do not want to do twerk music no more at a certain age, but twerk anthems.
Yeah.
And it got so frustrating, too, because they were making such good music. Again, North Carolina wasn't on the map. So here we go again with the 100,000 views. Here we go again with the video shoots. Here we go again with the radio campaigns. And it was just hitting a ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke started DJing because everybody in the group did something.
Right.
So, like, one would do photography, one would do this. So he was the DJ. So he became actually a really dope DJ in the area who was prominently making money and getting booked and rocking parties.
Right.
But still making music. But then he would come with me and give me like half songs at the time. I own a club, so he would come to the club and he'd play me half his song. I'd be like, bro, let me get the record. And he's one of the only people to this day that I would have to always ask him for the song. Right. Not coming to me volunteering. Yo, bro, push my record. Nah, never. Me asking him, bro, what's up with the music? You know what I mean? I ain't finished that yet. Or you really like that? Nah. So Might Be was a record that he did in 15 minutes. And it was a sample of The Jones Girl, which was remade by, Escape, which was later on Anderson .Paak Freestyle, which he retook and revamped, but at the time I didn't know. Put on the radio and it just skyrockets. Wow. So one day, Ghazi calls me and is like, bro, we got an issue. The song's like #1 on Shazam. Did you know this was an Anderson .Paak? I don't know nothing about no Anderson. I ain't never heard of the dude. Right. You know what I'm saying? At the time, real life. Yeah. Boom. Next thing you know, the song is going crazy. Yeah. Right? So we worked out what we worked out. Right. Everybody's happy. Good. December of 2015, I wake up and the song is #1 on Shazam in Atlanta. This moment, I left radio August. August, I announced I was leaving. I left October 1st, 2015. Moved to San Francisco. Started working at Empire October 2nd, 2015. The record goes to #1 December 2015 in Atlanta. We hadn't even been here. I mean, I've been here a bunch of times, but I'm talking about not for Luke. Yeah. I look at that and I said, my life has changed. Wow. I called Luke like, bro, it's time to go. So we went immediately to Miami right after. We went to Atlanta. We did a party with J-Tech at the time, right? And Taboo 2, to be exact. And when we pulled up, I saw the star treatment he was getting. Yeah. And see, didn't nobody know who he was. Yeah. But everybody was trying to take pictures and going crazy. I said, okay, life is changing right now. Yeah. And
how did that feel? Like, what were you thinking?
What I was thinking was, man, I love this moment. I want to extend this moment. I want to extend this 15 minutes that's getting ready to happen into years. Yeah. God willing. Yeah. So we go from that, go to Miami. We get the record popping in Miami. And then him and me spent the whole month in California. Because I told him, I said, this is a very small opportunity. Most East Coast artists, wherever they're at, they only blow up Chitlin Circuit, Southeast region. Right. Your sound is greater. Let's go to California and let's blow you up. So everybody thinks he's from Cali. They think he's from Texas. They think he's from Miami because we spent so much time in these markets to just blow it up. But Luke is probably one of the most talented people I've ever met. Writer, producer. He does his own beats. He's amazing hook. He's just a talented person. Right. And, rocking with him since, from the beginning. So that's just a beautiful thing, just to watch that process happen. And after so many years of just keep attempting, keep shooting, keep going crazy. And then it just boom.
You talked about in the past some articles that you've mentioned and just now about working the record or touching different markets, I should say. Mm-hmm. Like immediately you saw that Atlanta was catching on to this and you made sure that you guys got here to Miami, to Texas, to California, so on and so forth. Can you explain how important it is for the artist to physically touch the places?
It's the most important.
Why?
If Donald Trump, one of the richest, dudes, or Barack Obama, everybody, every president you could think of, right? These people are some of the most powerful men, whether you believe in conspiracy theories or you believe in just good government or whatever, if they have to get on and put on a hat and go to Iowa and go to everywhere to campaign, Ohio, they have to win these states every time. When you look at the map when it's election time, next year is going to be big, 2020.
Right.
So all you see are the red and the blue states, right? So what makes you think as an artist that you could sit back at home and shoot your Instagram video and think that these people are going to really care about you? See, the problem that I would say, if there is a problem now, is the new generation of artists. I don't got to do radio. We ain't got to do this, man. I ain't got to do it. All right, don't do it, bro. Watch where your record goes nowhere. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't care how big your budget is. If Beyonce and Jay-Z go on tour and then they go out there and they say, here I am at the YMCA. These are people that are bigger than life. If Drake comes and says, I'm going to give away my $1 million radio budget, I'm going to come to Miami where it's affected by a hurricane. If these people got to go out and touch the people, then why don't you? Right. You're never going to make it unless you go and you hit the road. And so I was a firm believer that we're going to shake every hand, kiss every baby, because not every song you're going to make is a hit, right? Yeah. Not everything you're going to do is going to stick. But if you leave a good impression on people and you go to those marketplaces and you touch the real life people, one follower at a time, those people are going to engage with you. They're going to download your music. They're going to buy your T-shirt. They're going to come to your show. And so if you don't touch them and you don't go see them, you're not going to win the election. Okay. Because there's 1,000 other people out there that's doing the same thing. And so if you don't go, and if a market is reacting to you and you thumb your nose at them like, man, I ain't going to go, I'm good. I promise you they're going to just stop messing with you. Right. If they don't see you, and you really have to go out and so I'm a firm believer, touch the people, do the interviews, go everywhere. Yeah. Because these people matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's a campaign.
I agree. And it's cool to see, too, you know, the artists that do go out and touch these markets to see how their shows just grow and grow and grow, you know, once they revisit that market again. And, you know, it's like word of mouth. And we saw you talked about Popeyes and Chick-fil-A, we saw how just organically that campaign came about.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, curious, because you talked about your relationship with Ghazi from Empire, but you've been involved since the beginning of Empire, yeah?
Yep.
How have you been able to watch the growth of this company from the beginning to where it is now, being able to work directly with the company and just seeing a label itself have such an influence and impact for all these artists at this point?
It's amazing. It's amazing. He always stuck to the same theory of independence, letting the artists do what they want to do for the most part, you know, he set up a dope technology where you could see all your sales, your analytics, everything.
Right.
But all around, you know, he's a good person, a fair person, and I wouldn't have left radio just for anybody like that. He had called me. I said, boom, let's do it. I trusted the dude.
What did he call? He called you specifically to come out there.
To come out there, and at the time, it wasn't about the records. It was about me coming out there to help assist with the radio side of Empire.
Gotcha.
But when I'm out there, it just so happens that this record starts going crazy. So at that moment, I was like, man, I can't miss this opportunity. Right. Because you only get this kind of opportunity once in a lifetime. To me, it was like, man, you know, we've been kind of blessed, might be, and then on the way to have two of them back to back, which lasted still to this day. They still play it on the radio and all kind of platforms. So, you know, those were the moments where it was like a life decision making to say, okay, I could always come back and own a club. I could always come back and work at a label. I could always come back, start my own label. But when you have this small window, you got to get out there. Yeah. And he agreed. I mean, we partnered up, and the rest is the story, you know? So it's like, that's the beautiful thing, man. But watching that has been, unbelievable. Watching people come at me now bro, I need a meeting with them. Or people that I tried to tell about this company to, look, man, you might want to get distribution through Empire. Sending emails out. I don't know. They calling me third party with their other guy on the phone. Bro, I don't know, bro. To them now, harassing me. Bro, I just want to Empire. And he did it. You know, he was a firm believer in reinvesting in himself. He wasn't flashy. Bro wasn't out there doing crazy things. You know, sometimes you get money and you just go nuts. It changes you. But he changed the money, so that was a good thing for him, you know, and I applaud the whole effort. I rep it. You know, I'm still cool with him. You know, no matter what happens in life, we're always going to rock.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. So I read on your Twitter something that you wrote probably like a year or so ago. You just got back on Twitter. But it says, stay passionate. Your emotions indicate feelings. Feelings are great in creation, but can stop execution. So I'm just curious as to how you separate your emotions from business as you've been able to cultivate these relationships. And, you know, like, obviously in music, these people become like friends or they are already your friends and you do business together, etc. But first and foremost, with the people you've worked with, you've been able to cultivate those relationships. So I wonder how you're able to separate, you know, the emotions from
Number one thing is low
business.
expectation, right? Number two thing is you realizing your plan and your path, right? So people only going to want you when you get to a certain level of hotness, no matter what it is. So you have to set up the pyramid, the bricks. You know, a good friend of mine, shouts out City Under Siege, swag surfing, calls me 10 years ago, listen, man, I got this record, we got to break it. From then on, bro, sold millions of records, right?
Yeah.
Me and him still, to this day, before I got here, I talked to him on the phone. He's in the city, we're going to link up. What I mean is that you have to nurture the relationship, but you can't sit there and dwell on somebody or something because something didn't work out. It's the nature of the person.
Right.
So if I tell you, though, we're going to go into business, we're going to do something, sometimes it does hurt it.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready for that. So you have to use experience, very, very important, because once you believe in a record so much, it could really ruin you. You could really be depressed. You could almost really want to commit suicide when it doesn't work. Because even with the budget, or whatever it is, forget the budget. Just you have a record and everybody likes it and everybody telling you this is the one. But then you take it different places and they're telling you, no, it's not the one. Or I can't help you. So you can't be upset sometimes. And it's the hardest pill to swallow because I've done it all. I've been on the creative side. I've been on the business side. And I've been on the winning side. And I damn sure been on the losing side, you know, of songs that just didn't go or projects that kind of failed or artists that kind of went away for whatever reason. And now you're so hurt inside. You're questioning God. Like, why am I here? What's going on? Because same thing in radio. You don't get a slot. It hurts way more than when you're on the air. When you get on the air, you pop and everybody loves you. You're killing it. But when the program director's like, no, bro, you fired or I'm taking your shift away. It could cause, art is so painful. It could cause real mental breakdowns, depression, all the mental health issues. So you have to separate yourself and say, okay, this is the business side.
Right.
Let me not be so attached to this project. So sometimes I fall back. Sometimes I don't want to give my opinion or I don't want to be in the studio. Like I go in the studio sometimes and just sit there because if I start going, nah, do this, do that, now I'm forcing everything. Now my idea sometimes could be destroyed because I'm just going so hard for it because it's my idea.
Right.
So sometimes your own idea could kill you because you're just so sure this is what it is. And then you look back on it like, damn, it really wasn't that.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Or was it? So, like, at the end of the day, you have to do this with passion and patience, which is the hardest two things in the world to mix. Because you want it right now. Everybody wants it right now. Artists get so mad, bro. Why my project not out, bro? Why ain't on this? Well, going crazy. And then you just look at them like, why should it be out?
Right.
What have you done?
Right.
How many people do you really like? Why we put this record out and nobody's gravitating? Or why 1,000 people hasn't hit you on your comments and said drop the record? So, you know, a lot of that is just a balance.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
agree. I know that we're wrapping up soon, but I do want to ask you this because I saw an article where you were talking about how you were treated after 9/11.
Oh, my God.
And I just think, because we recently sat down with this lady, Juana Plata, who is a voiceover talent, and she's from Colombia. She said after Donald Trump's election or after he was elected into office that she faced like a lot of difficulties, you know,
Yeah.
just in general with like discrimination and things like that. So after 9/11, can you talk about that? Like what you experienced? I'm just curious
I
to
mean,
know.
from the littlest thing of people looking at me crazy to federal agents coming to ask us questions about
Really?
what do we believe in,
Wow.
to not getting on certain places. The time, you know, there was a certain network that wouldn't let me get on TV, but I put my producer on there because they wanted me to cut my beard off. They wanted me to put a fitted hat on.
What?
You know, it was only Khaled and me was the only people. If you look back on the history of Arabic people that were personalities in hip hop, it was only DJ Khaled and myself. And Khaled used to have the Arab attack. He had to change that. He stopped flying planes for 15 years because of that.
Right.
And for me, it was hard, but I knew that, you know what, I'm going to use this for the positive. Now, RIP everybody that lived through that and everybody that passed away and their families. You know, my thoughts and condolences was there. But I actually did a record called September 12th where I took an Nina Simone sample and we sampled it. It's called A New Dawn, A New Day. We took that little part, and that was talking about right after what happened 9/11. A lot of people got affected, but America, I knew, always is going to buy what they fear.
Right.
One thing about this great country is that we love to be scared. They scare you with the weather. They scare you with the movies. They scare you with going outside. So whatever they fear African Americans, but bought all the sports.
Right.
They talk about the Mexican people, but yet they're Mexicans are original Indians that are coming back here. You know, everybody that is what they don't fear. Now you have to be feary of the little nerd dude. That's why there's anti-bullying, and now he's coming into the high school trying to kill everybody. So he's the new guy everybody fears. But I knew we was like the new, quote unquote, the new ninjas, you know, if you would. So and I said, you know what, if we use this positively, not coming out like we terrorists or acting like we sympathize with bin Laden or any of that, because even coming from the Middle East, nobody rocked with bin Laden, nobody rocked with Saddam Hussein. These people were people that nobody really felt.
Right.
So it wasn't like there was a cause there. These people hurt people for no reason, right? So
as many people do.
As many people do. But being American, coming to this country and loving America, but now I'm outcasted as something worse. So guess what? Rap music, NWA, here we are. Like NWA came out and said, yo, we niggas with attitudes. And guess what happened? They went to #1 because everybody feared them but loved it. Scarface, these are talking about gangster movies that like later on went on. So it was like, all right, you know what? As an Arab American, we're gonna be there. People are gonna be so intrigued with us. They're gonna end up buying our culture. Now you go and there's hummus everywhere. All our food is everywhere now, and it's socially accepted because they pried into the culture to see who we are, and then they realized that there was no more terrorist attacks after that. Name one more bombing after there wasn't none.
Right.
No shootings.
Right.
And we're intertwined in the neighborhoods, every corner store. We're intertwined in this place because we came here for a better life. So why would we want to come and terrorize a place that's giving us a better life? But the perception after 9/11, and you know I'm coming from North Carolina, so you could only imagine. Still to this day, there is segregation. There's hate. I mean, you know, I got to tell you, Georgia.
Right.
Well, as soon as you leave Fulton County, let's go.
Right.
You let you know where you at when you get pulled over. So, you know, so we still have the struggle, but America loves what it fears.
Right, facts. Okay, so what does the future hold for Waleed and his company and all the many things that you're working on? What are we excited for in the coming, like, I guess, finishing up the fourth quarter and going into the first?
Well, the fourth quarter is my favorite quarter in the world. You know, that's the best time to blow up a record. That's the best time to get on the map. Realistically, if you really want to win in 2020, you got to start now. So I'm releasing a couple of big projects, a couple of big artists that I've teamed up with.
Sweet.
And I think it's going to be a wonderful time, man. Inshallah, you know, God willing. So it's like, this is the time.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'm happy that I was able to get you to sit down with me and tell me a little piece of your journey. I think we need a part 2 because I know there's some stories
let's go.
that I didn't pull out of you just yet.
And you know what? I'll give you some exclusive ones next time.
No, please.
I mean, some ones that's going to go viral that people are going to call my phone and
that's
be
what
like,
you're supposed to do this time, but, you know, neither here nor there.
No, all right. I mean, I got stories, though. I know. Listen, when I tell you, I'm like the hip-hop Forrest Gump, period. I was there during a lot of times where it got crazy, and I seen some things that I couldn't believe, you know.
I'm sure.
I mean, you know, growing up, just in my area, Fantasia before and after, Terrence J before and after. These is friends.
Yeah.
But along that, I have stories to tell, and we're working on a Netflix series to, you know, talk about High Point Road, which people in North Carolina and Greensboro know about because there was legendary stories.
I've heard.
You know, like I'm talking about like stuff that you'd be like, no way, that didn't happen.
Wow. You
know, Nicki Minaj used to work at Hood Locker, which was my man Fendi's spot in Greensboro.
Really?
So we see so many before and after. So I got 1,001 stories for you next time.
That's perfect. I can't wait. I can't wait for that next conversation. Tell them where they can find you on social media. At
WaleedCoyote on all platforms. And if y'all want, you just hit me 336-202-5105. I'm gonna give you my number. I don't care. It's on the internet. You know, I Googled myself the other day and I seen all my phone numbers, all my addresses. I said, Jesus.
Wow.
I said, man, this is crazy.
That is kind of insane.
But you know what? Scary. You know, but I'm the type of person, man. I'm approachable. I like when I go. I'm too approachable, and I speak to everybody.
That's good, though.
Always. Hello, hey, how you doing? Because I like people, so.
We appreciate you for being that type of person, too. And as always, you guys, thank you for sitting down or listening to this podcast. You can find us on all social media platforms at IDM Podcast, as well as myself at Sammy Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonically superior.